All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today to learn more about the Atlantic Immigration Program and the Rural Community Immigration Class pathway. My name is Angela Verzosa, and I'm a licensed regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I'm also an active member of the College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants, who's the official regulatory board that issues licenses for immigration consultants like me. Okay, so I'm also the owner and managing director of AV Immigration and Visa Services Incorporated. So for today, we will use the first 30 minutes to cover both AIP and RCIC programs, and then we will use 5 minutes at the end to answer some questions, and then the remaining 5 minutes to wrap up our meeting for today. Okay, so we'll focus on the standard eligibility criteria to provide information today. But of course, in the future, if you would like to have a more personalized discussion about your case, you can always reach out to us at AV Immigration. Okay. All right. So just a brief and a quick information about us. At AV Immigration, we do specialize in a variety of pathways to permanent residency, including caregiver programs, which was the webinar that we have just last week, express entry, provincial nomination programs. Really, our mission is to provide clear guidance and tailored strategies to you as our client. So whether you're just beginning your immigration journey or you're navigating specific challenges, we're always here to help. Okay. And also, just to give a bit of a context as well, I'm speaking to you today from the beautiful community of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, where our practice is proudly based. For those unfamiliar, we're located about a 7-hour north drive of Toronto and just about 30 minutes from the international bridge connecting us to Michigan in the United States. So our community is a vibrant community and welcoming city. We have a very rich cultural heritage here, and we're very excited to call it home. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, let's first talk about the Atlantic Immigration Program, or AIP. Okay, so this program is designed to attract skilled workers and international graduates to Canada's 4 Atlantic provinces. So namely, as you can see in your screen, we have New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island. Okay, so the AIP provides a clear pathway to permanent residency for qualified applicants, helping to address labor shortages and stimulate economic growth in these regions. So we'll go over some key highlights of this program, but just for everyone's information, what's special about AIP is there's not a lot of, the scoring factor, the point system that you encounter through the federal express entry program. And as we all know at this point, truthfully, the express entry program is, again, one of the highly sought after programs for entry to Canada for permanent residency. Given that it's highly sought after, it's going to be very competitive in terms of, gaining CRS points. We've had experiences where we've had clients that have achieved very high score for express entry, but still waiting to get drawn at this point. So the landscape for immigration nowadays have significantly changed. it's no longer like before where, you know, if you have the highest CRS points, you'll automatically get drawn. You're automatically gonna get an invite for PR. Now it's very different. There's a lot of variability to consider, sometimes based off occupation, based on location. So that's why this is a great alternative, or at least an option for you to explore, because there's not a lot of that in this program. Okay. So highlights. Okay, so the AIP is focused on permanent residency for those who meet specific eligibility criteria, which again, that would include the right work experience, education, language proficiency, and sufficient settlement funds, which we will talk about in a bit. A key feature of this program is that it addresses the needs of employers in these Atlantic provinces who are looking to fill positions that contribute to the region's growth. Okay, so the program is not just about filling labor gaps. It's about creating also a community of skilled individuals who can thrive in the Atlantic province. So if you meet these criteria, you could be on your way to permanent residency. Again, I want to highlight the fact that, you know, when if you choose to explore this program, you're not just gonna use it as a gateway for permanent residency, but you need to have the intention to reside in these Atlantic provinces as well. You will be required to provide proof, or at least demonstrate your intent that you will be residing in these provinces to be approved. Okay, so program criteria. Okay, so here we'll take a closer look at what is required. So to qualify for the AIP, applicants need to meet the following criteria, the one you see on your screen. The first one being the work experience. So you need to have qualifying work experience unless you are an international graduate from a recognized post-secondary institution in one of the Atlantic provinces. So for education, you must meet or exceed the educational requirements based on your NOC category, which we will see in a bit. Language proficiency, you need to meet or exceed it as well. And the settlement funds, again, just like what we said earlier, you must show that you have enough money to support yourself and your family once you arrive in Canada if you're not yet here, or once you move in the Atlantic province if you're already here. Okay. And also just to highlight, if you're already living and working in Canada, one of the requirements that I have here is for you to have a valid work permit as part of the process. Okay. Okay, so let's talk more about the work experience requirement. So for AIP, you must have at least 1,560 hours. That is equivalent to 30 hours per week for a 1 year period. Okay, so so pretty much this requirement is for 1 year work experience that's gained in the last 5 years. And then this work specifically must be paid, so no volunteering or unpaid internships allowed for this one, and it must fall within one of the NOCs that can be classified in the database of IRCC for immigration, and it has to be between tiers 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this means occupation in tier classified as tier 5 is not qualified at the moment. So we talked about the international graduate exception earlier. So again, from the previous slide, we said that any international graduates that had a degree, diploma, trade certification from a recognized post-secondary institution in Atlantic Canada may be exempted from that 1 year requirement for the program for as long as they meet this criteria. They need to be full-time they need to live in one of the Atlantic provinces for at least 16 months. Um, and also had a visa or permit that is needed to actually work, study, to get that actual training. Okay. So for education, for those in tier 0 or 1, you just need a 1-year Canadian post-secondary credential or an equivalent from outside Canada. And for those in tier 2, 3, and 4, you'll need at least a Canadian high school diploma or its equivalent. So this means if you studied outside Canada, you need to secure an educational credential assessment, or what they call ECA. It's a report that you get from one of the designated institutions, such as WES, or what they call World Education Services, or ICAS. So if you haven't started this process yet, we recommend that you do that if you're interested in really pursuing some of the pathways, because most of the permanent residency programs actually require for you to do this anyway. So this is not just for AIP or for the rural community program. Okay. For the language, applicants need to demonstrate language proficiency through a standardized test. So again, it could be IELTS, CELPIP, PTE. For tier for tiers 0, 1, 2, or 3, the requirement is for you to have at least an average of CLB 5. And then for work that is under tier 4 occupation, the requirement is at least a CLB 4. Okay. And again, if you have had the opportunity to take a test before, just make sure that your report is still updated, because that's only valid for 2 years from the time that you have taken the test. Okay. Same with education. Just want to highlight that if you've gotten one already, make sure it's still valid. Education credential reports are only valid for 5 years.
And this.
Hello, Eve. I think you're not on mute. Let me just make sure everyone's muted. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the settlement funds. Okay. So if you are familiar with the Express Entry program, you would have seen some of the settlement funds requirement, particularly for the Federal Skilled Worker Program and the Federal Skilled Trades Program. Now, here for the Atlantic Immigration Program, they're not requiring you to provide the full settlement funds. It is still, you're still required to have some, though, based on the family size that you have. However, it's smaller amount, so it's only 12.5% of the LICO, which means the low income cutoff a requirement. So if you are just a single applicant, then you are going to be required to demonstrate that you have $3,672 in your bank. However, if you are, say, a family of 4, meaning you have yourself, your spouse, and you have 2 children coming with you, or to be included as part of the application, then you will be required to provide 6,828. Okay. So all right. So once you meet the criteria for the work experience, education, language proficiency, and settlement funds, the next step is really to find a designated employer. Okay. Designated employers are those that have been approved by the provinces to hire candidates under this program. Okay. So for more information and job opportunities, you should visit the provincial websites of each of the provinces. So for New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island, they do have a landing page for permanent residency, specifically for Atlantic Immigration Program. They do have a post there, and they have a list of designated employer, so it's not going to be a secret. So based on my clients experience, some of my clients experience, the way they do this is they go to LinkedIn, Indeed, they look for a job through through that web through those websites, and then once they find a suitable job posting, they look at the employer name, and then they go to the actual province website to try and find out if that employer is one of the designated employer in on the list. Okay, just to make sure that they are capable of providing support. Because again, once you get a job offer from a designated employer, what you're trying to get here is a community endorsement. So that community endorsement, that is what is required for you to apply directly to IRCC for permanent residency. So in this case, there's no drawing. You don't need to wait for, for someone to invite you. After that, as long as you have that community endorsement and you meet all of the criteria that we have covered today, you are good to go to submit your application. Okay. So that's now just a quick reminder also, once you are offered a job by the designated employers, these are some of the information that the job offer must have. Okay. So of course, it has to be full-time, meaning the job offer is not seasonal, not contract work, meaning has an end date. It has to be indeterminate. Also suitable for you, meaning the job should be one of it should be aligned, closely related to the work experience that you're going to be using. So for instance, for tier 0, 1, 2, or 3 work experience, the job must be at least 1 year, or sorry, so this one is talking about the length of time that the actual job is being extended. So in this case, if it's a job offer for tier 0, 1, 2, or 3, then it means that the job must be at least 1 year. The length of the job should be at least 1 year after becoming permanent resident. So there has to be that security. So most of the time, for me, I would just recommend to find a full-time indeterminate job offer, just to avoid this issue. Because again, if you don't have a job offer that would be available at least up to a year after becoming a PR, and the reviewing officers see this, you might need to prove more or provide more evidences to convince them that you meet this requirement. And then for tier 4, the job must be permanent, no set end date. So here again, going back to my recommendation, it's easier to just get a full-time indeterminate job, just so it's easier for everyone else, easier for you, because you don't need to demonstrate and prove that it is again meeting the expectation, and easier for the officer because again they will just rely on the job offer being extended to you, and if they see that there's no end date, then you're good to go. Okay. All right, so the last one here, the skill level match. So the job must be at least the same skill as you, uh, based on the work experience. So this is what that would look like. So in this specific table, you would see the job offer category, which is on the left side, and then the work experience category on the right. So what this means is if you get a job offer under say tier 2, um, um, let's say tier 3 job offer category, which is a line cook. So a cook is a tier 3 occupation. So if you get that job offer, the requirement is your work experience must the previous work experience that you have should be either tier 3 or 4, which is what's in here. Okay. So what does that mean? It means it doesn't need to be a directly similar work. It could be for as long as it's relevant. So it should be at least equal or less than the actual job offer. So that's the clue here. So looking at tier 2, if it's a tier 2 job work offer, your experience should be from tier 2, 3, or 4 can qualify for that. Okay. All right, so we are just time check. So we have bit more time to go through RCIC. So for the rural class, this is kind of similar to the Atlantic Immigration Program. That's why I figured it's nice to discuss them side by side. So here, the program, again, this program replaces the former Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program, which focuses on helping smaller communities in Canada attract skilled immigrants. So uh, the government have already confirmed that this specific program is confirmed to be happening anytime this year. We just don't know specifically when it's going to officially launch, but it has been confirmed just this December. Okay, so for the participating communities, so usually what happens here is once the program launches, it will the federal program would also post the participating communities. So just for your reference, the communities that I have included in this slide are the former RNIP or Rural Northern Immigration Program communities that participated, just so you know. So as you can see where I'm located today at Sault Ste. Marie, we actually participated in this program previously. I've heard a lot of great news that, it did go well. So we're hopeful. A lot of people are hopeful that we are going to continue and participate again this time around. But for reference, these are the other communities that participated. So as you can see, we have some from Ontario, we have Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC, British Columbia. Okay. So, how does the application process look like? So again, for rural community immigration class program, this has a two-stage application process. The first stage is you have to make sure that you meet the community requirements. That includes a genuine job offer from, again, a designated employer. And then the stage two phase would be meeting the federal requirements such as the work experience, language, and settlement funds. Now, the federal requirement also includes checking of your criminal background and your medical for health inadmissibility issues. Okay. Job offer must be genuine and full-time, so aligned with the tier category that you have. So we'll talk more about this in here. So here in the next slide, so as you can see, the work experience requirement for the rural community immigration class is quite similar to those of the AIP program. So applicants here must also have at least 1 year of full-time work experience. But the key difference is with RCIC or with the rural class, with the rural community, you can only declare experiences gained in the last 3 years versus the Atlantic immigration where, the last 5 years can be considered. Okay. And here, the tier alignment is also a little bit different in terms of the equivalent. So here, as you can see, the tier categories for the job offer, which is the one that you can see on the left side, and then the right would be the work experience. So similar, you read this similarly like the Atlantic immigration program table that we've covered earlier. For every tier two occupation, for instance, the experience that's valid is tier 1, 2, 3, or 4. So another key difference here, if you remember, for the Atlantic immigration program, you're only able to consider an equal experience, tier level experience from the job offer that you're going to get or a step below. Here, as you can see, for tier 2, you are allowed to use your work experience for tier 1, which is higher, equal, and below, which is 3 and 4 as well. Okay, so just note those differences when you're reading. By the way, all these information are in the IRCC website as well. So if you want to double check later to make sure that, the job offer that you're taking is aligned with the work experience that you have, you can always do that. Okay. Language requirements are a little bit different. AIP, they have CLB 5 and 4 as the average target here at the rural community. Tier 0 and 1, you're required to have CLB 6 average. 2 and 3, 5, and then 4 and 5. CLB 4. Okay, another key difference before I forget, for the rural community, they are accepting job offers in Tier 5 occupations. So these are the food counter attendant, the crew, the servers are acceptable. However, for the Atlantic, we're only doing up to Tier 4 for job offers. Okay. Exceptions, so again, similar to the Atlantic immigration program, the rural community also has an exception for the work experience if you as an applicant has obtained an eligible credential from a post-secondary program, which meets the following. So has to be, again, full-time, obtained in the last 18 months. Could be any of these schooling information right here. And then the settlement funds. Okay, so the settlement funds is a little higher compared to the AIP program. Here at the rural community, they would consider a settlement fund of 50%, 50% of the LICO or the low income cutoff. So earlier for Atlantic was said they are okay with 12.5% there. For the rural community, it has to be 50%. And again, based off the family size, once again, so for a single applicant, for context, you'll need 9,470 versus again a family of four,
Ah,
which we've covered earlier.
sige.
It's 17,000 598. Okay.
Sige. Teka.
Someone's Let me try to mute Jepoy. I think you're there you go. Okay, so what are the next steps? Okay, so definitely we want to make sure we're updated on any of the announcement for the participating communities for the rural community immigration class pathway. Being prepared for your credentials, assessments, language tests. Make sure you have the necessary settlement funds. And of course, feel free to always contact us at AV Immigration for any personalized guidance or support throughout your immigration journey. And again, just like what I said, these are all standard requirements. However, if you need personalized guidance for PR pathway, we do offer free consultation. You just message us or book us through our website at www.avimmigration.ca. And also just a quick info for everyone else. We do still have our promotion ongoing right now for some of the packages that we offer for permanent residency. So we do permanent residency, sponsorship, visitor visa, and some of the permits, full packages, and some confidence booster package for those that still want to get involved, know what's next, however just need a little bit of guidance. Okay, so all right, so that is everything that I have today. So I hope this is helpful for you. And now I just want to move on and offer some time for us to ask questions. Also, probably this is a good time for me to check the chat. Okay, okay. So what's the tier for personal support worker in a retirement home? Okay, so for personal support worker, there's two different tier level for occupation for that. One and what drives it is the location of the actual employment. Okay, so if you're home based, that's a lower tier level. But then if you are in a retirement home, long-term care, uh, just like what Ja is asking here, then that's a tier 3 occupation. Okay. Are you still required settlement funds if you are already in Canada from D-Light? Yes. Unfortunately, for these two programs, it's not similar to other job offer programs where if you have a job offer, you can use that as, proof of funds and be good with it. For rural community and Atlantic, you're still required, even if you're already here in Canada, even if you have a job offer. Okay, so right now, if you know this interests you and you just don't have a job offer yet, again, that's the first great step that you need to take at this point. You may want to make sure that you connect to employers as early as now. Try to figure out if how you can get that job offer. Assess your work experience. Make sure that whatever job offer that you're taking is aligned to the work experiences that you're going to declare, just to make sure that you meet the requirement, right? How long does it usually take from initial application of the RNIP or RCIC to PR? Okay, so this is very good. So this is a good question from Peter. Okay, so hmm, so normally, once you complete all of the requirements, you have, say for RCIC, you have your certificate of recommendation, okay? Because it's very similar than AIP, where you get a job offer, you get a certificate of recommendation, and then from the certificate of recommendation, you use that to apply for PR directly to IRCC. Now, so since there's two steps, there's the community application and the federal application. The processing time can take a little bit of time. So the first step is the process to get the certificate of recommendation. So that specific area, there's not a lot of standard processing time involved in there, because it really depends on the capacity of the actual city that's processing your request. So if it's historically, it could take as quick as a month. Sometimes it could take up to 3 or 4 months before you get the certificate of recommendation. And once you get that, you then have your next step is applying to federal, which is stage 2, which is through IRCC for PR. And when you do that, that's going to take more time, right? So it depends on the published processing time. I haven't had the opportunity to double check, excuse me, the processing time right now, but historically it could take between 10 months to up to a year for that. Okay. What's the TAT for provincial endorsement for AIP? So again, the 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 process of securing the community endorsement, okay, similar to the RCIC, where with RCIC you need to get the certificate of recommendation. For Atlantic, you need to get the community endorsement. So the community endorsement sometimes can also take up to three months, 3 to 4 months, give or take, depending on the capacity of the actual province processing it. And then again, as you all know, processing time can sometimes take time. It changes very often. So we just have to make sure that we're looking at the processing time as posted, because usually the province would post it in their actual provincial website. So say if you're applying for New Brunswick, they would have an area there to announce the processing time for the community endorsement. Okay. What is the current processing time for all the programs from JIG? So I did so again, depends, just like what I said. I'll send you a personal message. Thank you. What if my employer doesn't want me to have a validated job offer? Okay, so if you are from Quebec, um these programs right here, you have to, I'm not sure, validated job offer. So I'm not sure, Dennis, if you mean they're not providing you kind of like an employer reference letter to support the work experience that you have. Um, However, if that's the case, if they're not very willing to support your work experience, so you can use it for AIP or the rural class. An alternative way of doing that is to secure some attestation or letter from your coworkers, colleagues, your supervisor, your manager, if it's not directly from the employer, to outline all of the duties that you did. Also, you can provide your pay statement, your T4 to prove that you work in that company, and then just demonstrate the effort that you did to secure the necessary papers, but then the employer refused to provide it. There's that option. Thank you. Last question. Will my work experience be counted for my previous work here in Toronto, or my work experience will only start? Okay. So this is a very good question, and a lot of people are asking this question. So thank you, Peter, for asking it. So Peter is asking if if you apply for RCIC or AIP, that 1 year experience, does that start from the time you get employed, or you start from that employer? The answer is no. You can use your relevant work experience. So whatever work experience that you have right now, that's also valid, for as long as whatever work experience that you're going to use is aligned to the chart that we have discussed earlier on. It's based on the job offer that you're going to get. If you meet that, then for sure you can always use it. You don't need to wait for 1 year from when the time you get hired by the designated employers in AIP or RCIC before you can apply. Okay. All right, and then also, I know we only have a few more minutes left, but I just want to mention another key difference. I think I forgot to mention this earlier with AIP. The work experience that you did while you are still studying, if you are a student, can be used. Okay, so that's one of the good things as well for AIP. It's not like any other program where you need to graduate, you need to complete your studies before you can actually count the valid work experience. With AIP, student work experience is counted. Can you give me an assessment for my wife? Yes. So for any personalized request or assessment, you guys can email us at info at avimmigration.ca. You can also visit our website at www.avimmigration.ca. And then in our homepage, you can just scroll down and look for our calendar, and then you can book an appointment through that. Okay. We offer free consultation for PR assessment, answering questions for related pathways. If you are unsure, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to help you. Okay. When applying for, so last question, when applying for RCIC for international students, do we still need to provide proof of previous job experience back in the home country? No. So if I think Angelica is trying to ask about the ECA requirement, the Education Credential Assessment. If you are going to use your education in Canada as proof, there's no need for ECA or the World Education Services or ICAS. You can just use your diploma or transcript from the institution that you've earned it here in Canada. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that is the end of our webinar today. Very pleased and happy to have provided free information to everyone today. And again, next week we will have another webinar for OINP, or Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. In case you're interested, please sign up. For now, we wish you all the best in any of your immigration goals in Canada, and we hope to assist you someday at AV Immigration.